Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Scout Fantasy PGA-DFS. I am Alex White. This week we are taking on the Honda Classic. I am with Mark Farris. How are we doing today, Mark?
Much better than last week. If you win a week, you feel a lot better coming into the next one.
Yeah, it must feel nice. My hot streak is gone and it went to you, so hopefully this week we can both catch fire.
I think you still outcashed me, so we can't say you're done.
Yeah. Well, I'm just more impressed about our listeners. And then if you haven't followed us on Slack chat, there's been a lot of good screenshots on there from the past couple weeks. I mean, we're doing our jobs. Hopefully I can just, put it together. I'm making the right calls or just not the right construction of a lineup. And that's all.
I'm not much for playing the single day ones. Because to me, it's too much trying to predict what a guy's going to do on a particular day. But we even had one of our listeners that took what we were saying and entered one of the one-day lineups on Thursday and absolutely annihilated it.
Yeah, he took the DJ advice, and then DJ shot that 7 under round one, and yeah, that was.
See who else he liked too, didn't you?
Oh yeah, Mr. Poulter.
Ian Poulter.
He was my biggest regret last week, honestly, Mark. I wish I would have jumped on that wagon with you because I mean, I feel like Doc always says anytime he puts Poulter in his lineup tanks, and I didn't want to do that to you. So I let you have that 11 under nice solid tournament from Mr. Poulter.
Yeah, Ian, if he tanks, for me, I think a tank for him is still top half of the field. So, like I called him the honey badger. He just never gives up. I mean, something's really got to be wrong for him to give up.
Yeah, and he's in just phenomenal form right now. I mean, even across the ocean, he rattled off like 3 top 10s in a row. So, honestly, he pulled that form right back into the United States. So We'll see. He'll definitely be looked at heavily when it comes Masters time.
When it comes to majors, seriously, he's going to be in play.
I agree. All right, well, let's start with the course breakdown. This week, like I said, we're taking on the Honda Classic. It is in Palm Beach Garden, Florida. So we have moved on from the West Coast swing and we moved to the East Coast. This course is 7,140 yards. It ranks second out of 51 courses, meaning that it is the second hardest course on tour outside of major events. It is extremely challenging. And the reason is it's famously known for the bear trap, holes 15, 16, and 17. It is just a monster. And, I mean, it eats balls alive. Water holes, sand traps everywhere. I think there's over 80 sand traps littering this course. There's water on half the holes. I mean, your golfers have to be very accurate, and they have to golf well 4 days straight, pretty much focusing on limiting the big numbers. That's how they're going to stay in it. Last year's cut line was +6. So, I mean, that tells you something. We've pretty much had even or 1 under all year as our cut line, if not even better. And then we're at +6 for this tournament. So we're going to have to find some grinders. Mark, any extra tidbits you want to give on the course before we dive in?
Well, the one thing that I actually got on the website just to read a little bit about the course, and it's kind of funny. The website says that they have very, very generous landing areas and spacious and accepting greens. Anything you read on that is not true. Once you get 275 yards, the fairways go down to 25 yards wide. Now, granted, the average golfer, 275 isn't reachable. So, yeah, maybe it's generous for them. But for these guys, they're going to have to gear down. And the other thing is, too, they just redid the greens last year with some new, I'm sure it's still Bermuda, but, usually when greens are redone, they're not as receptive. They're a little bit harder and firmer. So, that's going to even make it more of a challenge because, you're hitting into a hard green with all the hazards around it. And if you're in the rough, and this rough here is bad. So, coming out of it, physics isn't going to work. No spin, hard green, it's not going to sit.
Yeah, that feeds into one of my key stats of scrambling this week. I think that's going to be huge with all the sand traps, all the water, the thick rough. It is Bermuda greens. They didn't change the green grass, but they did change the consistency of them. So they're not going to play like they did, 15, 16, 17. Last year's kind of our only real idea of how these greens are receptive. And after a year of that new grass sitting, they might be a little bit softer, but they're still going to play firm.
Yep. And with the wind with the wind, it's not going to make it any easier because greens dry out. So,
absolutely. Are any weather issues this week before we get into the slate?
I haven't seen any. All I'm basically seeing is just plan for wind because it's Florida, and there's going to be wind at some point. And one of the things I did point out, and you and I, neither one are very big on trying to gear our lineups based on when the guys' tee times are. But this might be a week where you want to look at where tee times are and try to see what the forecast is, because if there's high winds in the morning on Thursday and high winds in the afternoon on Friday predicted, you might want to play the afternoon players on Thursday and the morning players on Friday because the wind's just going to wreak havoc.
Yeah, and I mean, wind plays a big role in this course, and you can kind of see from year to year. I mean, golfers like Sergio and Adam Scott, Russell Knox, all good wind players, are pretty solid at this course. So when the wind picks up, they seem to have an upper hand. Looking like 2016, 2017 is much windier than last year. But like Mark said, the greens kind of changed the whole construction of the course. All right, well, let's break down let's go 10K all the way from Sergio up to Justin Thomas. Justin Thomas coming in as a heavy favorite at 5-1 for Vegas odds, which is just wild.
Yeah, FanDuel feels the same way because they've got him priced $1,100 higher than the next player, which is Rickie Fowler. And if you look at DraftKings, there's only about a $700 difference, which is still a huge difference between 1 and 2 on both of these sites. The only negative to that is Justin's in great form other than the little hiccup he had on Friday, Saturday in Mexico. But, you know, there's very rarely a repeat winner here. Good example of that is 2017. The winner was Rickie Fowler. What did he do in 2018? He missed the cut. So, you know, yeah, Justin's in great form. Justin's the odds-on favorite. But that price, you know, you may want to look elsewhere. Even he could come out and win it, but what other players are you going to have in your lineup if you go with him and somebody else above 9,500? You're not going to have much.
Yeah, JT is kind of a tough call for me this week. I mean, he is the favorite, and he's the favorite for the reason there's not a hole in his game, but he's got to be getting tired. I feel like we've been recommending this guy for, 4 or 5 weeks now. And I feel like he might just want to break. And he might get one after this week. He might take one, but I mean, he had to come back to this tournament. The returning champs, they normally don't just take that week off. So he might cut it short and kind of go out. But that's the thing. Like, even if he goes out and doesn't take it seriously, he is so good. He could end up like just messing around and aiming for the pins, for round 1 and 2, Thursday and Friday. And he could end up knocking the pins down and be like, oh, I was just messing around, but I'm 10 under, so I might as well just go out and win this thing.
Yeah, that's what happened on Sunday last week. He had nothing to lose. He just fired at every pin and damn near had a hole in one.
Yeah, he actually posted a video saying that he drove every single hole Sunday, and that's why he shot 9 under. He's like, you know what? He's like, I was so far behind. He's like, I'm just going to take my driver out. And, I mean, you saw what he did with it. So a golfer of his caliber, I mean, you can't bet against him. 5-1 is an incredible odd, but, JT is super consistent. So he still is my favorite to win, but it's hard. There's never been a repeat winner at this course. I want that to be known, and he did win last year. He could break that chain. It can happen, but I just want to make that noted that there has never been a repeat winner at this course.
Well, he'll be in some of my lineups. In my write-up, I won't predict him to win just simply because of that factor. Of course, you're trying to pick one guy to win out of 144. That's not easy anyway. But actually, in those guys above 10,000, the guy with the most solid course history there is Adam Scott.
Yep, my boy. Are you hopping on that bandwagon now?
I'm on the Scott bandwagon now. He is no longer in my doghouse. He got out when he finished second after I bashed him. So, maybe I should send him a Twitter feed or something and say, hey, look, buddy, you owe me something here for breaking out because I just hammered you. So, who knows?
Yeah, well, if you're going to play him, then I'm going to back off, and then I'll pick him up. You let me know.
Yeah, no, I'm probably going to play Adam Scott. Probably out of the guys there, I'm probably going to play Adam Scott more than Justin Thomas, but I'll probably even mix in a lineup somewhere, but maybe one with Brooks Koepka in it too, even though I don't really expect him to do a whole lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think Brooks will be the lowest owned in that range. Not for lack of talent, just lack of decent course history. And then not playing well last week, he might have disappointed a few people. So I definitely see his ownership being depreciated. Adam Scott at 10-3 is, I mean, that consistency is phenomenal. So I'll ride that wave with you. He's not going to be, I'm actually going to go Sergio over him this week because I do think he garners a little bit more ownership. And Sergio's approaches are just phenomenal right now. And they always are. But last week, you know, I recommended him highly and he paid off well. I think Sergio is just in good form. He's still on this redemption tour where he is constantly, you know, going to be playing favorites. And I think not only kissing babies and shaking hands or whatever, signing babies and whatever that saying is.
Whatever he does, yeah.
Yeah. Whatever he's doing on the side, that's all great. But people will forget soon if he breaks out and, you know, wins a tournament. They'll be like, oh, Sergio's back. He's a nice guy, this and that, you know, forgetting about all the bunker play and being a goofball.
Yeah, I'm honestly looking at, I mean, and I know we're going a little bit below the 10,000 we stopped at there, but the four guys there with Scott, Garcia, Woodland, and Simpson, you know, I'm leaning more heavily towards those four guys than I am anybody else, I think, in that top tier.
Yes, I love Webb Simpson and Woodland this week. Simpson is number one in my statistical model, and like anyone I've created with all the stats I've done, he is just bar none number one in every category. He is solid at 9,600. I'm going to be firing up Webb Simpson all over the place. And last year, he played the Bear Trap. He only had one birdie on the Bear Trap in his 4 rounds and still took T5. So, I mean, even if you can play that Bear Trap 15, 16, 17, 8 even, you have a chance to be top 10 in this tournament. As long as you're not shooting over par there, I mean, you really are creating an advantage against the field.
Yeah, because it's tough. I mean, it's called the Bear Trap for a reason. You know, it's intimidating.
Yeah, if you have a stretch of holes and you've been given a distinct name, I think you deserve that name. Yes. Bear Trap is a pretty terrifying name, so I'm sure golfers go there and, you know, they might go into that at 4 under and they might come out at 1 over. So don't count your chickens before they hatch this week, guys. 15, 16, and 17 will eat up some golf balls.
That's right. You could go from 1st to 5th in a hurry.
Absolutely. I like Woodland. His consistency is phenomenal this year. I mean, he is playing more consistent than I've ever seen in his entire career. So I don't see until he really hurts me. I'm going to keep firing Woodland up. And he's a good scorer, and he can get really hot quick. I don't expect super high scores on this, you know, track, but I mean, he can score like as well as Fowler and JT at the top range. You know, Simpson is a very steady player. Woodland can spike and, you know, shoot a crazy low number 1 round.
Right. The winning scores, I think, the last few years have been anywhere from -6 to -12. So you're not going to see the 22 unders that you saw last week.
Nope, not at all. All right, let's break down Cam Smith, 95, right under them. Any love? He's never played this course. He actually does fit pretty well in my statistical model. I like him as more of a GPP play. Again, he was in my write-up last week as a free square at 7,400, and he paid that free square off. He's just really good. I mean, he's more consistent than he's been in his entire career as well, and that's why he's up at that 9,500 range. Any love for Cam Smith?
Yeah, I do like Cam Smith. I mean, you know, Australians can play in the wind. There's nothing that says they can't. They're actually pretty good in the wind. Like you said, the only hesitation here is course history. He doesn't have any. But you know, that's not always the thing that works. You know, he's got decent form, pretty good form actually. So he's at that price. He's probably worth a shot. Now it's not as much of a free square as it was at 7,400. And you're probably not going to see him at 7,400 anymore, maybe other than if there is another no-cut event coming up. But even then, I think now he's probably going to be priced higher than that. So that was probably your one chance at a free square.
Okay, I agree. I mean, that was a huge field. That's why he was at that price. This is a lot weaker field. That's why you see him up in that 9,500 range. But he does deserve the price. The person who doesn't is the guy right underneath him, Daniel Berger. He did take second at the Puerto Rico Open last week, obviously against a really weak field. But he took second, and he was number 1 in strokes gained putting. He's always been a pretty good putter. That's, you know, one thing that's been important with him. But this course, I mean, you need to be pretty solid off the tee, and I just don't trust Daniel Berger off the tee right now at this point in his career. He is my fade of the week. Any love for Daniel Berger, Mark?
Not really. He does have a second place finish here in 2014. Then he missed the cut twice, and then he finished 29th last year. And, you know, he's still working his way back from that injury. So, you know, if you really are desperate and you think you want to go for somebody up there that's probably not going to be highly owned, other than the fact that he finished second last week, may draw some people towards him. Of course, that was a much weaker field. You know, so I'm probably going to skip him as well.
Okay. Let's go down 8,500 up to Daniel Berger. So Matt Wallace is at 8,500. And then we move all the way up to Daniel Berger at 94. Anybody in that kind of high 8K range, low 9K range that is drawing your attention?
Yeah, I'm actually looking at Russell Henley a lot. You know, he's got decent course history here. He's actually got a win here in 2014, so he can play the course. 8,600 might not be a bad price for him. I'll probably also look again at Emiliano Grillo. You know, like I said, for my first blush this week was, you know what, if he's priced high, I'm not going anywhere near him. But then it's like we always talk, you have to have a short-term memory here. He plays the course. You know, he's played it, let's see, 3 times. He finished 8th last year. So he's progressively gotten better, which is what you want to see with somebody that's starting out on a course. You don't necessarily want to see him lights out the first time, but as they progress, he went from 74 to 43 to 8. So he's getting to where he likes the course.
So then he's going to get first place if he's going up like that.
Or minus 30 something.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I can't. Grillo is so challenging because, I mean, he goes out there. He reminds me so much of Keegan Bradley. I mean, he'll put it 4 feet from the hole, and, like, you'll look at it on Shot Tracker and be like, yeah, baby, that's a birdie. That's a birdie. And then it's like, oh, no, it's not. It's a par. And then he does it the next hole, and you're like, all right, he's going to get it back. Nope. And then it's a par. And then he does 2 putts from 6 feet away, and you're like, this is why I don't play golfers like this. But he can, when he does putt decent, he actually gained 5 strokes on the field and putting last year, and that's why he got T8. I'm also not really high on him this week because I don't see him gaining 5 strokes on the field and putting. That's just not his game. Yeah, but if it all comes together, all it takes is 1 week, and that's what golf is about. So, I mean, don't take him out of your player pool. I do think he'll garner decent ownership, but I actually like Lucas Glover right under him at 88 more than I like Grillo. Also, Benny On at 91, I would take over him, and Billy Horschel at 93. All I would take over Grillo in that same.
I would even venture at Luke List.
Yeah. Luke, I mean, he's consistently gotten better at this course as well. I mean, 2nd last year, solid.
10th 2 years ago. So 3 years ago.
Yeah, he's got great history. He's 3 for 3 on cuts on a course that is not easy by any means. I mean, I just feel like that's a very high price for Luke List. I mean, I understand it's a weaker field, but man, 9,200? That's pushing.
Yeah, Alexander Noren's right there too. And again, he finished 3rd there last year too. You know, Alexander Noren's a great player. He really is. But I haven't seen him translate from Europe to the U.S. with any consistency yet. So, you know, he's another one that could be played, but he's not going to be a huge ownership percentage of mine.
Now, there's something a little bit off with his game right now. One thing he does do well, though, is he shows up on difficult courses. I mean, he shows up at the Masters. He shows up, I believe, at the Players and at this course with the 3rd place last year. He only played it 1 time. Yeah. On difficult courses, he likes to show up, but I mean, I feel like there's just something off with him. He has no consistency, and he used to just be like, oh, Alex Noren's in the field. Great. That's a cash game lock. It was about, you know, earlier last season even, I would have said that about him. And he's just not the same golfer right now. He's kind of in this little funk. Like I said, in that range, I'm going Benny On, Horschel, and Glover kind of all over those, you know, lower owned. Noren, Berger, Grillo, even Zach Johnson. I would probably play over Noren and Grillo as well.
Yeah, Zach's game is controlled, so that may be a plus for him here because you don't necessarily have to be long off the tee. You don't really want to be long off the tee. You just have to be good with your mid to long irons.
Yeah, I think 6 of 6 is going to be like, it's always an advantage, obviously getting everybody through. But I feel like this week you can even with a crappy 6-6, you're going to have an advantage. You just need to get everybody to the weekend at this course because there is going to be carnage. I mean, I remember last year, I believe it was Cheston Hadley came in at like 30% owned, and he shot like 12 over in the first 2 rounds. So, I mean, there might be golfers that you just highly expected, like, oh, yeah, they're going to make the cut. I mean, be prepared to be disappointed in some golfers you're high on. So don't like lock yourself into one golfer and be like, I'm 100%. Because if that 100% fails you, your whole weekend's over by Saturday.
And that's probably another reason why I'm not going to go as heavy on Justin Thomas. And it's not that I don't like Justin Thomas, but I just think that because he's such a favorite, because he's played so well, and because he's such a recognized name, that even the people that don't play DFS all the time, that's who they're going to flock to. And if he lays an egg on Thursday and Friday, he'll kill a lot of lineups. So I'm not saying I won't have him in any lineups, but he is probably not going to be my largest owned guy.
All right. There you have it, guys. Let's move on. 7,500 all the way up to 84, all the way up to JT the Postman.
He's one of my favorites. I know he's one of yours. You know, he's your Ian Poulter.
Yeah, I'm not going to quit him. And, I mean, he's played this course once, and that was in 2017. Yeah, tied for 27th. He is the guy that limits bogeys, and he just doesn't give up big numbers. And you just need a guy to play around even to be in the top 25 in this field. In his last 20 rounds, he has shot over par only 3 times in his last 20 rounds. That's awesome. And when he's shooting over par, he's shooting like 72s and 73s. It's not like he's going out there and shooting 77s and 80s. He is barely going over par. So I love Poston at 84. And I seriously think that he's going to be low owned again because of that price.
Oh, I agree. And it's just because, you know, everybody's going to flock to the ones that are in the 85, 8,600, 8,700 range just above him, when you're probably going to have plenty of money to do either one. And I would leave 300 on the table and go with Poston before I would go to Zach Johnson.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with that. I would play Poston over Johnson. I mean, Poston and Glover are kind of in the same area for me right now as far as how much exposure I want to them. I feel like Glover has a little bit more upside because Poston, he's just not really like a top 5 guy, but I feel like Glover is. Like, he can be top 10, top 5. I mean, he's what? Glover's 6. Yeah, his last 6 of 7 tournaments, he's top 20. Like, that's phenomenal. You know, Poston has made the cut in his last 6 of 7. But, yeah, Glover is top 20 in his last 6 of 7. And top 10 in 3 of them.
Yeah, in the last 12 weeks, he's got a 12th and a 7th and missed cut. So 3 tournaments he's played in the last 12 weeks.
Yeah, and the one that he missed the cut when was everybody was on him. That's why,
right.
Like I said, guys, don't lock into one player. There's a lot of volatility. So anybody in that lower, 7K, I like Russell Knox at 78 quite a bit. He has missed the cut, but he's in good form right now. He's a good win player, and he's a grinder. He kind of reminds me of an Ian Poulter in a way. He's solid. And right now, if he's in good form, I like to ride Russell Knox when he's in good form. So yeah, I'm going to fire him up again.
No, I agree 100%. I mean, yeah, he missed the cut the last 2 years, but prior to that, he had a 2nd, a 3rd, and a 26th. So, and like you said, his current form in the last 12 weeks, he's 43rd, 18th, 43rd, 10th, 14th, and 39th. You know, that's solid. I mean, if you can pick 6 golfers that were going to do that every week and put them in your lineup every week, and you can afford them, you're going to cash more often than not.
I couldn't agree more. And then what about Michael Thompson, who I believe will be in 20% ownership? I mean, when you look at his box score, it's like, yeah, he deserves that ownership. I personally am taking a stand and not playing him. What are you doing, Mark?
I honestly didn't even think about his name until I saw some of the hype this week on him and just some of the things that I've read. And a lot of it comes down to the fact that he's won here before. And he's got a decent course history. But, he's one of those guys kind of like if he was 7,200 or 7,000, not 8,000, I'd be more inclined to play him. He may squeak into a lineup if I need but again, if I can go $300 below him, and well, even more than that, if I can go down, I would go down $400 and take Graham McDowell before I would take him, I think.
Boom. We're on the same page. I love me some Graham McDowell this week. I would also go up $100 and play Piercy over him this week.
Absolutely. I just saw something on Twitter that somebody must have made the statement that Piercy's playing so well, and now we're moving to the East Coast, and he just is completely garbage on Bermuda greens. And he commented back, I think I won the last tournament I won was on Bermuda greens. So he's not as much garbage as everybody thinks he is. And guys' games can change. Piercy is playing well right now. 2 years ago, he might have folded under the same circumstances, but now Piercy's playing well. I mean, I wouldn't be afraid to play Piercy, especially, like you said, at 8,100. Why not?
Yeah, I would in that range. I'd probably go Knox more cash, and I would go Piercy and GPP because Piercy just has awesome upside. And when his approaches are on, I mean, he's like Lucas Glover and Emiliano Grillo good with his approaches.
Right.
All right. I like Graham McDowell. Like you said, he's a good wind player. He's a good coastal player. He always plays good on the west and east coast. Just anywhere there's like water near him and a breeze, he plays pretty solid. And he's coming in with decent form. He did well for us at the AT&T. He was my right up there, played well. I think he got like T28, which isn't great. But, I mean, at 7,600, I'll take a top 30 anytime, especially on a course like this.
My God, his course history, though. I mean, he missed the cut last year. He's got a missed cut somewhere else, but he's got 4 top 10s. He's got another one top 15. He's got, and then 2 of them in the 40s, one in the 30s and one in the 40s. So he loves his course.
Yeah, I like it a lot. CT Pan, I kind of have some love for him this week. I just think he's solid. I mean, he's not playing as good as he was last year coming into this part of the season, but he does pick up when it gets to the Florida swing. He starts to, like, his mid-season form gets better and better. Yeah. So I like CT. He's going to garner some ownership. I mean, honestly, out of the golfers that we've mentioned in that range, I think probably Thompson somehow comes in with the most, then CT Pan, then Russell Knox, and then Graham McDowell. I think it falls kind of in that category as far as ownership. So if you're looking for a leverage, maybe GMAC and then, Russell Knox out of, like, instead of CT Pan and Michael Thompson. I feel like nobody's going to talk about Joel Dahman. Do you have any love for him this week?
And honestly, I haven't really considered him. I mean, there early in the season, I was considering him because he was playing so well. He does have one time here. It was a 33rd, which is solid. So he can play the course. The only thing, he's followed up a 22nd and a 9th early in the season with two straight missed cuts. So, is
he's talking about him though? That's the point.
It's a lot of it.
And that's the time to hop kind of on a golfer. If you're throwing in a couple really low end GPPs and you're like, all right, I have a lot of high ownership with Webb Simpson and I've thrown in Michael Thompson. Okay, these are my options. I have Russell Knox, CT Pan, Joel Dahman. Well, that CT Pan and Russell Knox are going to garner some ownership. Joel Dahman might be a decent pivot in that range. Just something to think about. Don't take players out of your player pool, especially in a course that ranks second toughest on the PGA Tour. Any given week, these golfers that we're recommending might not show up. And if they don't show up even for one round at this course, if it happens to be on Thursday, they're not going to see the weekend.
Right.
Some of these golfers are weekend warriors, but they have to get there first. That's the point I'm trying to make.
100%.
All right. Let's see. 7K. So this is such a big range. I'm sorry we're trying to breaking it down. It's a lot bigger than last week's 72 golfers.
There's such a large pool this week, and some of them we can just, quite honestly, I hate to say it, but some of them we just flat out ignore.
Yeah, let's just ignore and kind of talk about our favorite plays and just highlight, maybe 3 or 4 more of your favorite plays in that 7K range. If you're not ready, I got a few I can rattle off.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I like, I'm going to hop back on the Dylan Fratelli train. He had a 11th place finish last season here. I don't necessarily think he's going to play that well, but he had a top 28 in his last tournament out. He's in decent form, but looking at his log and kind of figuring out his game, he doesn't score a ton, but he also doesn't give up big numbers. He's really good at avoiding double bogeys. He's like top 25 in the field in double bogey avoidance. And if you can limit that, you know, it might just get you to the weekend. And Dylan Fratelli has done pretty well on the weekends. He is actually one of those weekend warriors I was talking about. He seems to end up popping at least one out of his 2 rounds on the weekend, or his lowest rounds out of his 4 for that week. So I like Dylan Fratelli. I even like Scott Brown. He played decent at Puerto Rico Open. He always does. He had 11th place, but he's top 10 in DK points in this entire field. And for a golfer at 7,400, I mean, that's, you know, if you're going to be top 10 in DK scoring, you don't need to be, you know, top 10, you know, in the leaderboard to really finish with that many points. We are playing a points game. Remember, we're not playing a finishing position game. So I like Scott Brown at 7,400. Just pretty consistent overall game, and he's a good win player too. So if the win picks up, I definitely like Scott Brown. Let's see, anybody else? Not really in that range. I feel like Kokrak's going to garner some ownership just based on his season overall. I think Joaquin Niemann might pick up some ownership at 76, even though he's never played the course. I think he's a decent fit statistically. Personally, I will kind of fade him. But yeah, I mean, really, it's Dylan Fratelli. I like Jim Furyk at 7,000. I think he's a killer play at 7,000. I think he's a cash game lock, honestly. He will be in my cash game lineups, guys. He's never played the course, at least recently, as far as I can see for the past 5 years. But Furyk is really good at par 4 scoring. He's good from 150 to 200 yards. You know, his proximity from those ranges, which is another stat I'm looking at. He's good at scrambling. He's a decent putter. He's got an all-around game, and at 7K, even if he top 40s, that's awesome for cash for 7K. I like me some Furyk. That's kind of where I'm going to stop. Go ahead, Mark.
Well, in that same range, I got a little bit of love for Sung Kang. He's got a 10th place finish here, so it's $7,000. You know, these are the guys that you're looking. To me, at least in the 7,000 range, you're looking for guys that give you some optimism. And the fact that he has a 10th place finish shows you that you can be a little optimistic with him on the course. Again, I like Jim Furyk, and I'm quite frankly, I'm willing to go back to our AARP lineup and throw Stuart Sink and Ernie Els in there too at 6,800 and 6,600.
I love Stu Sink. So yeah, you can't talk me off Stu.
No. Yeah, exactly. He's same thing as Furyk. And Ernie Els, he is so smooth. And the only thing I have ever been told when I'm playing golf in the wind, swing smooth and easy. Well, right there, easy Ernie Els, smooth and easy.
What about Jim Furyk though? Jerky and all over the place. Still gets the ball in the hole, doesn't he?
Different game, different style. You know, they're all effective. He play, but that you're right. But you're right about that with Furyk. He plays his game. He doesn't care what any game anybody else is playing.
Yeah, I mean, it's like that Matthew Wolf kid that everybody was talking about. I don't know if any of you ever looked up his swing, but he is as jerky as it gets, and that kid can mash the ball. Yep. And he came into the PGA Tour and ended up like top 25 or something in his first tournament. Like
he was killing the ball, and I mean, there was a highlight reel on Twitter of all the long drives that he hit.
Yep,
the guys were impressed.
Yeah, he was top 3 in driving distance in his first PGA Tour event. I mean, he was behind Cameron Champ, who I don't think anybody's going to outdrive. That kid's just a monster.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah. So I agree with that. We could go back to our AARP lineup.
Hey.
I have no problem with that whatsoever. And like Scott Brown kind of falls in that category too. He's been around for a long time.
If we'd have played that lineup that week, like you said, it would have killed.
Yep. Remember, Lucas Glover was in that lineup too, guys.
He was. Yes, he was. I think we had Brian Gay in there too, didn't we?
Yes, we did. Yep. He shot like 9 under that week. Yeah. Yep. That was honestly, that lineup was killer. I'm going to do that for fun. Hey, maybe not the cash game lineup. We'll go with the AARP guys.
That's right.
All right. Anybody else in that lower 6K range? I'm not digging too deep. I kind of like a Nick Watney. He's a decent play at 6,900.
Yes.
I might take a chance on like Brian Stewart at 6,500. He might be the lowest that I go this week. He's shown some decent course history, but he fits with scrambling. He's one of I think he's top 20, if I can remember correctly, in scrambling. And anybody that can get out of the sand and avoid water is A-okay in my book on this course.
Yeah, there's 4 other guys that I mentioned in my article that are down around that range, and one of them is with a little bit of hesitation, but it's Sam Burns, because he actually finished 8th there last year, and he's only a 10th. He's not playing that well right now, but again, we've talked about that before. The easiest way to fix something that's going wrong is a comfortable course, and maybe that's what it is for him. And of course, he is $6,800. You don't need much return to get value. Carlos Ortiz, I know we've talked about him before. I've mentioned him, Keith Mitchell, and if you really want a dart, Johnson Wagner might not even be a bad dart.
Yeah, I think that's a decent call, Johnson Wagner. Yeah, he had a good week at Puerto Rico too last week. So, I always like a golfer that's coming in off a decent tournament. If they can carry that momentum.
He hasn't played well this course, but
go back for just a second. Who did you say before Johnson Wagner? I wanted to touch on him for just a moment.
Keith Mitchell?
Oh, it was Stan Burns.
Stan Burns.
So he actually gains over 2 strokes on difficult courses compared to the field. That's kind of where he plays his good game is on these hard courses. So I don't mind that play at all. And obviously he proved that by getting a T8 last season. And for a young golfer, his first time at a hard course coming out and get T8, I mean, that's super impressive. I don't expect like a top 10 again. I mean, that would be awesome at 6,800. But even if he comes in top 40s, you're happy with that at 68.
Yeah, he's coming back with confidence, and that's what you want. You don't want somebody coming back that shot 12 over. So, for that price, put him in a lineup. You may be able to get JT and some other guy above 9,500 if you put him and some of these AARP guys in there.
I like it a lot. All right, Mark, now that we're done talking through that, let's build a cash lineup. And then
there's one other guy that I wanted to mention, and this is complete dart. Because in my lineup, I broke it down. There were so many guys. I'm $6,400 and below for my pricing there. There's only one guy in there that I even think about mentioning is John Huh. Yeah, I think that's how you say it. But the only reason I like him is because if you look at DK has him he is minimum price on DK. If you look at him on FanDuel, they got him mid-range. So somebody's algorithm is wrong, or DK's got him really underpriced, or FanDuel's got him really overpriced. At $6,000, if you want to take a dart at it, his course history here is a 24th, a missed cut, a 14th, and a 17th. So he can play this course. So, at $6,000, again, you really need not much. I mean, you could literally get 60 points in 2 days.
Yeah, that's I saw his name at 6K on DraftKings, and I mean, it really allows you, like, you could start like a Justin Thomas, Rickie Fowler lineup if you wanted to, if you're going that low. And he has decent course history. His form right now is just so bad. And that's why he's priced that way on DK. But I did notice that big difference on FanDuel.
It's definitely risky. But
yeah.
GPP is all about risk.
That's right. Okay, fellas, let's do it. Cash lineup. Mark, go ahead and rattle off your first cash game play of the day.
All right. I'm going to go with Adam Scott.
Your safety built into that, considering his course history. All right. So, like I said, guys, I will not be playing Scott because Mark is so high on him this week.
That's right. You'll go the opposite of whatever I say.
Full disclosure, I will not be as high on him as I normally am, but I will be playing him. Absolutely. I'm just messing with Mark. Okay, so 7,900. Let's see. I'm going to go Russell Knox at 78. I think that's a great price for him, and there's a sort of safety built into him. So it looks like we're going win players already off the bat.
Okay, I'm going to stick with Graham McDowell.
G-Mac. Do it. All right, so let's see. That puts us at – I put in G-Mac. All right, I'm going to give you a little bit of salary relief and go down to Stu Sink. I think he's a very good price at 6,800.
Hey, what do we have left?
That leaves you with 8,750 for each golfer. So, I mean, that's your average, 8,750.
Okay. Let's see. I think I don't want to go all the way up. If I go Webb Simpson, what's that leave you?
Plenty. Go ahead. I love Webb.
Webb Simpson, then.
That leaves me with 79. So it brings us into that Dahmen CT Pan. Remember, I was talking about that earlier. That it's going to happen a lot, this range. Ooh, I'm actually going to go with CT Pan then in this range. I think he is a safer play than Joel Dahmen is. CT Pan it is.
Okay, that's cool.
I'm going to rattle that off one more time, guys, just in case you want to throw it into a little cash game. Starting off, we have Adam Scott at 10-3, moving down to Webb Simpson at 9,600. Then we move down to Russell Knox at 7,800, CT Pan at 7,800, Graham McDowell at 7,600, and our lowest golfer is Stu Sink at 6,800. And that leaves you with $100 left in the salary.
Just fine in a cash game.
Absolutely. All right, let's go GPP. Start us off. Or did I start?
You start this. You go ahead and start this one.
I'm going to go Fowler. I feel like, why not? I'm not like in love with him this week, but he won, already this season. So if he can pull it off, he's won here before. People are going to play JT. I think that Fowler will be higher owned on FanDuel than he will DraftKings, just based on that price differentiation. I feel like 700 is almost too close on DraftKings. So I'm going to go Fowler.
Okay, that's a good one. I think I will go. Let me see here. Who do I want to go with? I think I'm going to go JT Poston.
The Postman. I love it. I love it. All right. That's going to roll us down to about 7,600. I'm going to go Scott Brown. I like it. I mean, if he's going to score, if he's top 10 in DK scoring, that's a great GPP play in my book.
Dylan Fratelli. You sold me on him.
Yeah. That lineup I did really well with at the beginning of the year. I had Poston and Fratelli, so I have to hook them up again, see how that rolls. And that's actually, I guess we have Poston and Fratelli in this lineup. There we go, guys.
Right, yeah, that's what I said. I mean, there you go.
All right. Then I'm going to go real low. Maybe not real low. I'm actually going to go with Furyk. I'm going Furyk. Furyk it is.
Okay. So that leaves me with what?
$8,600.
$8,600.
Guy you were talking about earlier is right there.
What's that?
The guy you were talking about earlier that you were high on.
Russell Henley?
Yes, sir.
Hey, in a GPP, let's take a shot.
Beautiful. All right, I'm going to rattle that off, guys. So that gives us, starting off with Rickie Fowler at $11,200. Russell Henley at $8,600. JT Poston at $8,400. Down to Dylan Fratelli at $74. Scott Brown at $74. And Jim Furyk, our lowest price golfer, at $7,000. That is a $50,000 lineup. That leaves you nothing left. Feel free to adjust it as you wish. These lineups haven't been doing great, but we do them for fun, just to kind of give you an idea of just how we're piecing lineups together.
Yeah, and just another point with that is, too, even though it's a GPP and we spend all the money, a lot of times we say you don't have to spend all your money in a GPP. You don't, but it doesn't matter if you do.
Yep. I mean, you can differentiate, like Henley's going to be lower owned. I feel like Fowler will be lower owned in that high range. Fratelli's going to be Scott Brown. So, I mean, even though we use all of our money, there's going to be golfers, probably 4 out of the 6 are going to be under 10% owned. So
drop down to Ernie Els, pick up somebody else as a substitute for one of those. So,
yep, I agree. All right, guys. Again, we're with Scout Fantasy. It's always fun. Mark, you will not be here next week. Is that correct?
I will not. I am out of the country next week. So I will be on Slack, and I'll try to do as much research as I can. I'm actually leaving Monday. So any games that I get to play, I'm going to have to get loaded in Monday before I actually fly out of Florida. So, I may or may not be playing much next week, but I will be on Slack. I won't do an article either, but, you'll get enough out of Alex's article to do that, to get what you need. The other thing is, too, again, hit me up. I mean, I'm going to have some downtime. I'll probably have my phone with me. I can answer any questions you have on Slack. And that's the other thing. Slack chat's a beautiful thing if you remember Scout Fantasy Sports, because Alex is in there now, too. We were bouncing lineups off of everybody last week. I even had Scott Atkins send me a direct message on Slack and say, "Oh, crap, I forgot. We got 20 minutes to do a lineup. Give me a lineup." So I shot him one real straight just off the cuff. Said, "How'd you do?" I went back and looked at it. It wasn't terrible. And I think he said he turned $45 into $54. A win's a win. So,
yeah, that's absolutely right. Guys, yeah, like Mark said, we'll talk to us on Slack. You can find me at Coach White DFS on Twitter as well. Any questions you have, feel free. That's what we're here for. We enjoy doing this. Next week, we will not have a video podcast. I will create an article, though. Make sure you're checking out that article. Mark, have safe travels, my man. That's pretty much it. I'm getting out of here. Let's have some green screens, fellas.
We'll see you in 2 weeks, ready for the players.
There it is. They're actually, DraftKings already posted like tournaments on it. So, yeah, check it out. I don't know if they posted the field yet, but there are already players popped up today on DraftKings.
Cool. Good luck, everybody.
Good luck. See ya.